Family of Light by Barbara Marciniak. Chapter 12. To Outmake the Maker. We ask you now, as an adventurer and journeyer into realms of understanding and mystery, to extend yourself into the depths of unfathomable antiquities. Relax your being and reaffirm your identity. Then follow along through the words and the vibrations of energies we share as we weave the purpose of this tale. Truth is a very important element of living and is relative to one's perception, location, and ultimately to one's point of view. If we have shared something with you that rings of truth, or the lack of it, that is, of course, for you to feel into. Our tales and lessons in living are, in many ways, for ourselves. We introduced ourselves at the outset as travelers and storytellers, asking you to join us on this journey because, as we have learned, like attracts like. You are, at this point in time, concluding many phases of your experience. Perhaps you have felt the need to withdraw, to move back, in order to assess the panorama in front of you. We have spoken to you as Pleiadian journeyers and ancestors of you. And we have used the Book of Earth to help you locate yourself and to be prepared in some way for the momentous and extraordinary changes that humankind is currently undergoing. We have viewed portions of your story as proclaimed in the books of your history, and through using the ethereal Book of Earth, we have explained to you the importance of your ancestors, that each and every moment of their lives makes up the Book of Earth. We have conveyed to you the essence of a book that is not easily read and not at all published. A book that is a treasure, one that requires a certain focus and concentration before it can even be accessed. The Book of Earth holds the true living portions of each of its contributors, and its most interesting facet is that it cannot be read without it being experienced. When you study the stories of your world, you do not in general experience them. You only read about them, or perhaps watch reenactments of them as movies. And to a large degree, you are uncertain of which stories are true and which are fabricated, and to which degree they are true or complete fabrications. Which stories are official and which are unofficial? Which do you believe have more truth? You call your stories history, his story, and they are full of the conquerors who divide and conquer with fear and create more and more separation and ownership. However, this is only one tiny fraction of the timelines that have occurred. although they are a strong fraction, indeed, with deep power and much deeper secrets. The nature of your current situation is to discover that deep secrets, hidden stories, and plans within plans have been stored all around you, in the ethers, in your bodies, and in the airwaves. Some of these plans may seem ominous, layers of frequency grids in the etheric or actual electronic grids built by satellites surrounding your planet, as if to create an electronic quilt in space, or a blindfold perhaps, or certainly a frequency electric fence. But to what avail? Now that you understand that everything is frequency, why would a frequency grid have been erected in space around your planet? Who put it there? And again, why? One of the lessons we learned as journeyers is that the makers, the designers of what we all experience, are vast beyond imagination. And search as we would, as hard as we might, we have not yet been able to locate the address or the vibratory home of the primary being, all that is, God-sciousness, Mother, Father, Hunab, Great Spirit, Prime Creator, whatever term you want to use, it is all incapable of describing the Maker. From our point of view, the Maker appears to be invisible, impossible to see, and the Maker holds their own hidden secrets, which continue to entice us forward, because as Pleiadian seekers we contemplate the consciousness of the Designer. We have been humbled, truly humbled in our journeyings and adventures, and we have been profoundly affected by what we have learned. And we're trying to teach you what you are capable of learning at this time. There was indeed a great need for a great alteration of our own collective Pleiadian consciousness before we were qualified to even look at the Book of Earth. For, as we said, to study this book is to live it. How, you may wonder, can this occur? It is a good concept for you to ponder at this time, and if you really want to know the answer, then do the living that living requires in your body right now, trusting that living with clear intent builds the frequency that qualifies you to learn more. And in learning more, you know more, and in knowing more, you really desire to seek to meet with the Maker whose mysteries are untold, and yet all paths lead to the Maker. Even though, as we said, the Maker has no address. The Maker moves all of the time like some unfathomable spirit, here one moment and gone the next, just around the corner, or just having left for the next town, or just having climbed over the mountain. Elusive, evasive, ephemeral, and a deeply mysterious secret. Sometimes we chuckle in our own Pleiadian journeyings and say, if we meet the Maker, then perhaps that would be the end of our journeyings. You are living in auspicious times, interesting times, most certainly. To fully grasp the opportunity that you have created for yourself is what we ask of you now. Are you ready to fully grasp the opportunity that you have created for yourselves? Imagine that as an artist you are given the opportunity to use the tools of the Maker in your imagination on the canvas of your mind. Focus on your pineal gland and see your third eye open. Imagine that you are to paint a picture, an illustration for the Book of Earth. How would you capture the concepts from the stories and tales we have shared with you? You would, of course, incorporate all of the feelings elicited by you, knowing that your responses and reactions, consciously or unconsciously, contribute to the frequency of living and to the planet, and hence to the Book of Earth itself. How would you bring all of those concepts into a piece of art? Picture it now, using your imagination and your pineal gland, your inner eye, your third eye, to see how to illustrate the Book of Earth. Then perhaps you would be qualified to read it, if of course you would dare. It is one thing to hear the tales and quite another to be one with them and have them be alive through you. But of course you know this. Perhaps now you know how we know what we know, and perhaps you too will begin to grasp in your ponderings the mystery and the magic of the Maker as well. We have told you over and over that a creator cannot be separated from its creations, and that it is always best to start with the truth and end with the truth. And yet truth, as you know, is dependent upon where you are vibrationally and what you are ready to experience next. As you step back and assess your new worldview, your new personal view, and certainly your new cosmic view, what does all this new information mean to you? Can you see the true value of life? We ask this question to you as kin, as brodhistars. For we are all star seeds, we are all light workers, we are all way showers, fellow journeyers, fellow travelers. In our journeys, we certainly discovered eons ago that there was a great value and purpose in life and living it. And we also discovered that one cannot really escape living. once you exist, you cannot unexist. In your 3D perspective, living appears to be separate from dying. Life appears to be separate from death. And since so much of your existence is physical and 3D, it therefore appears that life beyond death is non-existent. You have been told a very minute myth to control what you believe is possible around that. In the Darktilian-controlled Judeo-Roman Catholic, Christian, Muslim, Islamic version of reality anyway, and revealing the panoramic multidimensional view that humankind is now being called to acknowledge will certainly shatter a few nerves. Excellent. Sometimes when a collective nerve-shattering experience occurs, a collective healing of profound magnitude can also be experienced. Because normally, the puncturing and breakthrough of your collective conditioning is extraordinarily difficult to accomplish, so you therefore need earth-shattering events to do so. Yay! You are resilient, eternal beings, programmed eons and eons ago, and the ancient ones tell you stories of their battles and fighting throughout space for you. Feel into the unfathomable depths of space and time, where something very ancient dwells, where forces far beyond human or even reptilian can produce form. And these forces seem so intelligent and massive that you would consider yourself a tiny, insignificant speck next to them. Yet, you are a result of their creations, and the Creator cannot be separated from its creations. How can the Son of God not be God? No matter how humble you may appear to the power of this intelligence, you are nonetheless this intelligence. Your finest hour shall soon be upon you, and there will be an exquisite, unique celebration to it. However, for now you have one more opportunity to reflect and go deeper inside yourself to see what secrets your cells hold. In the Book of Earth, we have seen again and again that those who truly understood the value of the genetic data they held in trust here have always kept their true ancestors a secret from the rest of you. The maintainers of your world, the global management team, in the employ of some of the designers themselves, were often in the dark or ignorant of the rest of your capabilities, the true human potentialities. Compartmentalization works both ways, you see. You have been taught to use this same process of divide and conquer and compartmentalization and separation in the processing of your world, and you call it the chain of command, where only a few know it all, even if that's possible. And the farther away you get from the source, the less and less you actually know of the whole. As we have explained, this happens because you have abdicated your psychic abilities, which would allow you to read energies and to know and feel so much more. Some of you cannot even imagine, even at this point of our journey together, what knowing actually is. There are those of you who know, yet even with knowing, you can think you know and still not know. Knowing is tricky, you know. Knowing is like having some great new toy that keeps changing, that has its own consciousness. Who knows the knowing? Who is doing the knowing? What is this process of learning to know? How does it work? And why does it work? When and where does it work? How can I make it work better for me? Knowing has been renounced by you and even made virtually illegal, or at least frowned upon most definitely, because if you actually knew, then you could not be controlled. And those who control you do not actually know either. They just know how to control you. For if they could feel into your lives as we do in the Book of Earth, they would interact with you in a very different way. Once you immerse yourself in the vastness of creativity, you become what you make. If you sculpt, you become the marble, the clay, or the bronze. Ideally, as a writer, you become the words and the stories that you write. If you create music, you become the music. If you create a child and take the role of mother or father, you feel and become the life of your offspring. This is, of course, due to the maker's ability. Perhaps the maker cannot be located because it is too busy making everything, or perhaps the maker is waiting for you humans, this one little slice of life, to become one with it, perhaps further down the line. And even though this timeline that has just begun to springboard you into action after 2012, as you launch into the age of Aquarius, then finally the timelines become wide open. Eventually, everything that you are and the whole world around you can and will exist in simultaneous living, the end of time, as it were. that enigmatic state that none of you have ever yet quite experienced, and very few have even been able to imagine. The ancient ones, the legendary lizards who battled through space for you, their story is vast indeed, and to read their book is quite a tale in itself. We see their tales weave in and out of the book of earth, like vacant tracks or slithers in the sand, leaving faint markings but no actual sightings. The books that you write are actually devoid of their stories. Yet, if they are brought into form through your words, then the believers would know, and the knowers would know. However, those who do not know are truly, as you say in your world, clueless, temporarily. Knowing has a season and is actually electromagnetically available at all times. And in your panoramic view of the Book of Earth, as you can perceive it, you will need to include this factor that knowing is an electromagnetic experience. Knowing cannot be done in drips and drabs. It's full on or nothing, and it takes courage. Are you ready? Once the electromagnetic channel address becomes available, it can be freely given, but not so easily experienced. It can be weightless, and yet the densest and heaviest energy you would ever hold or be held down by. Thus, celestially, many turn their backs on true knowing, and some actually run the other way. Some have no idea what knowing is, not the foggiest clue as to the experience. And that's perfectly fine. But without actually knowing, you cannot experience oneness with what actually is. In our vision of existence, we have the flexibility to remap time. Perhaps it's beginning to dawn on you that you have this ability as well. This does not mean that we destroy timelines, nor will you, but it means that we seek to remap and redesign reality, to nudge and weave little timelines over to merge with others, and some can actually just fade away, and some allow us to arrive before we depart, so to speak, and to thread ourselves into frequency and existence and the force of physical reality, the raw material of the maker, and to use this source in a vastly creative, substantive, supportive, and above all, serviceable way. It is our humble honor to be of service to you. This is our vision, and yet it is not our vision. It is a vision that we share with certain aspects of the Maker. We are the builders and creators in our genetic line. Extraordinary builders. We have strength, versatility, and longevity, and a great abundance of creativity and humor. In our vision, we include a blending of talents and harmonies, one that encompasses multiple timelines and costumes, where frequencies can be seen as streets, and where new ways of travel will be understood, where time unfolds like a geisha fan, and the arrival precedes the departure on occasion. Our vision includes your vision as well, because you are our kin, and it is as brethren that we reach across time and space to you. However, in actuality, we really jump the nanosecond and span the electromagnetic spectrum, and we are not at all far away to you. Yet because you do not yet know how to travel in this manner, it appears as if we are located an imponderable distance of light years away from you. But we are right here. The widening panorama of existence that you are now able to imagine in your mind's eye occurs now to people all over the globe, 100th monkey, 100th monkey, 100th monkey, as more and more humans reconsider their concept of what it is to be alive in the cosmos. However, many of you are moving around in despair, which is exactly how your controllers have wanted it to be for thousands of years because of your current mode of living, your industrial, military, and political disconnectedness to each other, and especially to your one true Mother, Goddess Gaia, Mother Earth. You are now activating certain biological emergency codes that were planted in the genetic library of Earth to be triggered if and when Mother Earth and her inhabitants ever reached this current state of imbalance. These alarm bells and codes and master numbers, programs in your terms, were designed and implemented billions of your years ago. A fail-safe mechanism, a safety belt, a net beneath your circus high wire. This safety mechanism was created in the unfathomable depths of antiquity, where the legendary forces of your creators exist, in which they sometimes call home, and certainly had their creative studios, and from those vibratory depths and imaginary workshops, your protection was guaranteed at that time. How can that be, you may wonder? How could beings billions of years ago design and plan a biological response system in our genetic codings for events so far in advance? Well, Think about it. How can that be? The computations of your supercomputers today were unfathomable to you just 50 years ago. And perhaps the technology from 50 years ago, which had been hidden from you by the world management team, was far, far in advance of what you even know about yet. And of course, the same is true for today. And this is part of the leap we have been hinting to you that you will be required to jump over the imaginary abyss. You see, all of these technologies have existed for billions of years. Instead of experiencing the gradual discoveries leading up to many of these fantastic high-tech creations, they will be, as we have mentioned, thrust upon you all at once, like the hidden technology to electronically manipulate you and use you as a monetary, energetic creation source that has been kept from the public. The Matrix is real, my friend, but it's actually multidimensional. There are many aspects to it. And there is not one country or place that has been exempt from this manipulation. It is sad news and it is true, but it is almost over now. In your questing, adventuring, and journeying, we do not share this news to bring you into despair, dear souls. Part of our panoramic, multidimensional view will show you that everything exists in contrast and duality. Certainly in this place that you call home currently, this is the way in which you discover what and who you are, through contrast. You do not need to annihilate or neutralize the opposites in order to know the whole. The sad truth is that in renouncing knowing, what could you then possibly know? As we said earlier, one of the truths we have learned is that the part cannot stay separated from the whole. You can, however, imagine you are separate, temporarily only, and allowing the Darktilian managers to separate you and control you, you have succeeded in separating yourselves from each other, from the earth, from your families, from your ancestors. You've even separated yourself from the cells of your body, and especially from the true significance of living. In that illusionary state, everything is isolated and everything is meaningless. So, you are to be congratulated as humankind for living out the experiment so far and making such a successful success of meaningless living. Among your indigenous people, they never lost this vibrational awareness, and among your Western world, it was through the help of certain indigenous practices, such as plant medicines, awakening you to the vibrancy of your own DNA and that of every other living creature on Earth. And that has been a wonderful show for us to watch from our position. You have shown that it can be achieved, volunteering to pierce the veil that has lain so thick upon your eyes for thousands of years. We have spoken of ages and the tests of an age, and we have mentioned the wealth of an age. Did you know that money as a concept did not even exist until 1500 years ago? And so many of your ages of the past were so much wealthier than this past few hundred years. As we see it, the true wealth of an age comes with your ability to shift your perception, and the test of an age embodies your choice of frequency. Will you now choose to produce the frequency of love? Will you finally begin to vibrate in the fourth chakra? Will you activate the green ray and step into the fourth density? It's been here all along. In every age, where endings and beginnings are the bridges from one lesson of living to another, it is important for all of mass consciousness to assess the panoramic view, achieving the great summation. What have you learned? The cosmic winds, the solar flares, the Earth herself, and your DNA now create the season of change that you have the fortune to live through. Reflecting on your ancestors in the last 500 to 1,000 years, the flat worlders, we can use them as an example. Their task was small compared to yours, and yet just as crucial. As we see it in the Book of Earth, those timelines somehow map themselves together in this fleeting moment that you call your now. As much as we would like to magnify and study them to see what they do and did, it seems as if you humans sort of kind of go underground like moles in a tunnel. You have created something so intricate, or perhaps it's this electronic blanket around your globe that even the greatest of time jumpers and timeline travelers, and even we, the Pleiadians, who dare to read the Book of Earth and live it, as we say, as we read it, we seem to find that this current chapter runs short, or maybe a page is missing or something, and we know that in this time you clever humans will produce some pages here because, as we have said, the legends of the cosmos speak of you and of this time you are writing now. Perhaps it is in the inner standing of how the arrival can precede the departure that you will understand how these galactic legends can already be spoken of when you have yet to live them with all the freedom that you dare to take on, with all of the creativity and connectedness that you dare to scoop up and drink for yourself, and with all the courage that it will take to live out the coding in your biology, because you are very clever, very creative, and very coded. Perhaps those of you who can learn how to utilize the coding as it appears in front of your eyes, on screen perhaps, and yet it's really in the core of your being and begins to unfold and enrich the events of your lives. Perhaps those of you will have the courage to live the coding to its fullest and explore some of the books of knowing beyond the book of earth. You may call this certain books in the Lak'esh, if you wish, because it's true. And as travelers and journeyers, we will give you a tip here. Books are quite tricky, you know. When we first began to discover these unfathomable antiquities as collections of stories and tales and great gatherings of creativity, which are truly magnificent compilations of life on various planets and at various times, when we first took out our Akashic library card, we did not quite understand what it was to open a book, to touch it, and to read it, as it were. So we were, in all honesty, a little bit battered about. We had to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off quite a few times. We had to then confer and to whisper and wonder what it was that we had stumbled upon in this great journey of discovery. And it is usually with humor and well-intentioned grace that we would proceed, noble in spirit, sometimes, admittedly, feeling rather puny. Yes, even we were puny Pleiadians, in awe of the majesty and the making and the knowing that we would experience in those books. We share this bit of truth with you so that you will not be so shocked by what awaits you. You too should be humbled indeed, for it is a part of living to become aware at your insignificance and simultaneously at your enormity. Perhaps in the humbling comes the necessary state of awe for the value of life and for the maker and designers and planners, and an awe for the planning that contains no mistakes and that weaves the dark and the light and every imaginable color of thread together to create something of contrast and beauty that never stops creating itself. Your wonder and compassion will allow you to create a greater rendition of the panoramic view of existence. And then you will decide for yourself which tools of the maker you would like to take up to create your artistic intention, your intentional art, and to bring into form this art based on what you know and what you feel, and holding this form in your hands is the essence of your imaginative, creative being. And we suggest that you choose the tool of love. The maker if you are so privileged to ever meet, may not say, "Oh, this one tool over here is the most essential." The Maker is far too clever for that, and waits for you to discover and wonder, "Maker, oh Maker, why are your creations so profound? What secret tools do you have to use, dear Maker?" However, the Maker does not mind us sharing this information with you, and this is the truth. Many, many books of knowing exist indeed, and many, many more that we do not even know of. There are books of each planet, and each planet has a book for each of its own timelines, and then there are books for each kind of knowing, and then there are books about each different physical life force on those planets, and then there are books for the non-physical life forces, and then there are books on books, and then there are books just about the four-legged creatures on each planet, and then books about the winged creatures, and books about the two-leggeds, and books about the creatures of mythology, and books about legendary, mysterious creatures too. They all have their books. And remember, one can only read these books by living them. That is where loving compassion is the key. There are more books in the library of existence than is possible to ever be imagined, each one waiting to be experienced, each one a marvel of collection. But, once again, proper frequency is needed to align oneself and to prepare oneself for the reading of any one book. And remember, dear soul, like attracts like. And as you prepare to read some of the books of, for example, the family of dark of planet Earth, then you have to liken yourself to that experience and become it. And yet, you will not lose yourself in this vibratory alignment. This is a trick best mastered for all journeys into knowingness. It takes time and practice, but it is yours to master. The energies that would continue to tyrannize you extend through the depths of space and time, and so too do the energies that have always loved and supported you. As we have said, in the Book of Earth, all stories are woven together side by side. Often each one is unaware of each of the others, and each one is part of a simultaneous plan hidden from the plan of the neighbors or the relatives. Here the dark interweaves with the light, using the same substance in the same space, and yet they are unaware of each other for the most part. Although both perhaps are thinking they are very aware and knowing. And yet true knowing has never been experienced by any human being yet. Your psychic perceptions and abilities are teeny tiny little tidbits of snippings, looking at little leftover clippings from the tapestries, yet still lacking a true, strong thread and a needle to weave them together. It takes a massive season of multidimensional change to truly be able to understand what you will know and experience it through your being. But it's on its way. It's, in fact, unstoppable. In the Book of Earth, it appears that the genetics of your being have been impeccably prepared for this coming time. We convey this to you again and again because, once again, we see that you teeter towards worry. As the tests become greater, and trust us, they will, you must understand that so do your strengths and abilities become greater to meet all possible tests. You are not tested and challenged without the ability to rise to the occasion, to change yourselves, to transmute fear into love, to transcend your shadow ego, to remake, remodel, and rebuild your lives, to weave a new multidimensional fabric is your destiny. Trust the programming and coding that is in your genetics. It is impeccable. You have never been snipped and blocked and limited and smashed down from a majestic 12 into a puny little 2. That's just a silly idea that had its purposes for a little while, so put that away. Better yet, just go flush it down the toilet. Everything is perfect every single time. Your conscious minds are only partially appealed to by your surrounding experiences because it is actually your unconscious minds that rule you. If you question this, then look at the size of your brain and see how much is utilized by the conscious mind. A small percent, probably about 13 for the best of you, and sometimes as little as 5 or 6 or 7. Your subconscious mind, however, is an uncharted territory, holding hidden secrets of your interconnections to the cosmos and, of course, the ancestors. The secrets to your genetic programming, each coded for its own season, its own time, like the seeds and bulbs and plants that you watch grow every year. The full power and potential of the subconscious mind, the hidden territory, if you will indeed, in this your finest hour, your 13th hour, your hour of timelessness, the majestic power of your subconscious mind, the hidden territory, if you will indeed, in this 13th hour, become known. We ask you to look around and understand that the change has already begun, and the hidden plans within plans have begun to be revealed as your subconscious mind is integrated with the conscious mind, each knowing the other's territory, the other's forte. And it is in the harmonizing of your divine feminine mind, your right mind, with your divine masculine mind, your left brain, that the deepest part of your mind, the part where memory can be changed and your abilities can be augmented, will be switched on. And the deepest part of your physical brain, the brain stem, is called the reptilian brain. Another clue, perhaps, to the invisible tracks of your ancestors. And once you activate your third eye in your ethereal brain, infinity sign above your eyes, energy flowing over and around and under and down and up and over and around, and energy flowing into your third eye. Gradually, more of what has been invisible will become visible. It is most important for you to just trust the process and maintain your own common sense of being interconnected to all of life at the same time. This process involves the dismantling of the illusions of separation, as well as the dismantling of genetic perception. And you indeed have been in genetic perception. Your genes are wired to perceive reality in a specific way. But you have been rewired to believe you only have 5 senses because your 6th sense, your intuition, has been demonized. However, it is true that your genes are wired to perceive reality in this 5-sensory way, and we do say wired because in actuality it is through the frequency modulation from the sun and the moon, those rhythms of perpetuity, and even from the center of the earth, that you are maintained and contained. At this time, you cannot quite grasp the vast creativity of the designers and creators because you yourselves cannot quite operate at that level of understanding. But day by day, it's opening. Our stories are increasing the insight that is stretching your concepts to eventually embrace and embody simultaneous living, where you fully understand that all of your past lives and all of your future lives are actually simultaneous. And you can reach out with awe, with inquisitiveness and capacity for compassion for every one of your own past and future lives, and therefore for every other life of every other human and every other non-human. And you can literally feel and be the designers of your world, whose plans within plans are intricately immense and becoming actualized as we speak. These designers do implement their plans from the ethers, as it were, from the invisible domains of multidimensionality, and they transcend the ethers into the visible and physical without the receivers of these plans, that's you, having a clue as to their origin. Many so-called clever humans have buffed their own nails and patted their own backs at their own brilliant creations, never suspecting the celestial software encoded into them and the necessity for their creations as gifts to humanity. Yet all of this allows you to be influenced by designs that are not part of any religion or any of the God hierarchies as you know them, although some may squeak through from one particular cultic practice or another religious doctrine, but designs that are so enormous that even millions of you at a time are used as one pawn in a cosmic plan. Imagine that this is neither an evil force nor a good force. It is the creation of your creators. And even this type of a creator who could arbitrarily move millions of you with a flick of its scaly finger is just an idea in the mind of the Maker. We wish for you to understand how these elements are all interconnected and woven together as we experience and read the Book of Earth, and how essential you actually are. Now you know that when we speak to you of your world, it is because we have felt and lived in it. This is one of the requirements of being a true time jumper, as we are. Mere visitors, frequency hoppers, there are two. However, a true time jumper becomes one with the journey. We seed ourselves into civilizations, and that is how one can have the arrival before the departure, because time jumping is done before it's needed to be done, so that a biological entity will exist who can receive certain nudges, as it were, or messages, or channelings, if you will. Recently, when your people have begun remote viewing and traveling out of the body and beginning to see that there is a whole cosmic arena to potentially be experienced, we would remind you it is essential for you to dream. So do not give up your dreaming. Cherish the ability to sleep and dream with a powerful pledge to continue and learn to dream with intentionality and develop the skill of lucid dreaming. For dreaming and living go hand in hand, because dreaming is the creative garden in which you begin to exercise your potential abilities, in which you do your artwork in the ethers. And it is there in your dreams that you decide which pictures you will crate up and bring with you from the dream world into what you call the real world. The ideas that you seem to magically perceive are ready to be brought into form right now. So open your mind. Open your third eye. Keep the infinity symbol moving and flowing and opening, and know that a renaissance of creativity is yours in this fleeting moment of time, and it also ripples throughout the corridors of all times, where a renaissance of the creators is your experience as well. There are those entities who are also realizing, as you are, that no creator can be separate from what it creates. And here we are, outright asking you to create with the frequency of loving compassion. We have offered you suggestions for foundations and for visions. We have ideally shared with you an interesting commentary on your world and many others, as we have shared our tales and tidbits with you from the Book of Earth and others. But the purpose of our tale is to relate to you the most important ingredient of all, the actual secret of the Maker: love. The Maker is willing now for you to know that secret. And perhaps, even in your own magnificent renaissance of creativity, you will outmake the Maker with unconditional, compassionate love. If only you could feel the joyous ecstasy of the cosmic laughter from the Maker who created this potential. And the Maker knows that you can and will feel it. For the creations to outmake the Maker, that would be an interesting experience indeed, much like the arrival before the departure, and yet it must happen. So we ask you, dear souls, to create with the frequency of unconditional love. Remake yourselves with the frequency of unconditional love. Undo the dark balls of twine and imbue the thread with unconditional love, and weave a pattern and a fabric beyond compare. As we have said, some pages of the Book of Earth seem to be missing or not quite possible for us to view, and that part of the tale, which no one can read with certainty, became much more foggy and ambiguous around the year 2012. The more refined the frequency becomes, the less accessibility others have to meddle and mix and mingle, and even to just observe as the mists of celestial fog roll in, and we Pleiadians and other extra-dimensionals can only catch a glimpse now and again, and how to put it all together even we cannot quite see. Your point in time simply shows pieces of a puzzle dangling in the air, glimpses through the mist. What it all means, we ponder to ourselves, however, because it is merely a flickering, fleeting moment, we are patient. We know we will be around to experience this fleeting moment, to read this page once it is firmly set in type. We sit in our realm, if sitting is what you call what we do, and we await with great anticipation and profound excitement and deep admiration for you, dear souls. We are so very excited to see what you will do and how you will handle this test of an age. Will you recognize your own vein of cosmic gold? Some may ask, are we meddling by asking you to produce love and giving you the secret of creation that is love? Perhaps. But it seems to us that all the books that make up the Book of Existence would benefit from your production of love. And many of your books on your planet, the physical ones that you've been reading for, let's just say 1,000 years, speak of love. And recently the vibration that you call unconditional love has risen to the top of your awareness. None of us multidimensionals know the source of the legends about the humans in the early 21st century after 2012 and the launching pad into the age of Aquarius, where it is said that the golden age is achieved and extended, and where the nanosecond became an eternity. Paradoxes, enigmas, flights of fancy, twists of fate, and stretches of the mind into the inconceivable, all of these await for your experience. Some of you, perhaps, are envying the ease of life that you think the flat-worlders had 1,000 years ago, that at least the world they encountered was so simply known. Yet it was really not more known than yours is now. You see, a frequency change, a vibrational wave has existed in the ocean of consciousness. So to cross from one continent to another for them was truly like traveling to another dimension. The frequency of the dwellers in the new lands held different beliefs from their ancestors. Therefore, different manifestations began. The seeding of the belief is paramount to the ability of manifestation, as so you believe, so it shall be. In order to create a new being, new beliefs are laid as a foundation, and old beliefs, by necessity, must crumble and be taken away. We remark on your flexibility and marvel at your changeability, because if you have journeyed with us thus far into the depths, into the hidden, into the mysterious, scenes behind the scene and plans behind the plan, then you are therefore ready to know much more. The season of change is indeed upon you, a change imprinting you with a magnificence that requires you to produce the frequency of love to access it. Believe in yourself. Trust unconditionally in yourself, for you are all artists. You are the creator, etching an area of living with your mind. Know that the fictions of the past have bombarded your consciousness, and the messages of the day from your mass hysteria media continue to bombard your consciousness electronically with officially dark points of view, and hardly a news article or report actually holds the slightest degree of truth, or at least not the truth that you need, the truth of your oneness, the truth that love is all there is. Truth seekers, you shall continue to be, and as you seek the truth, time after time, your bubble of innocence will burst, and you will find yourself on the ground, like Humpty Dumpty perhaps, all cracked and bruised, weeping and saying, "I didn't think it was going to be like this. Goodness gracious, I thought life was something far more sweet and pleasant, and now I'm discovering all these distressing things." The distressing, the disturbing, and the disruptive news that may come your way is actually there for you to heal them, and yet know that many of them are not actually true. As we've said, the wealth of an age is determined by your ability to shift your perception. Remember that. Reimagine yourself. The wealth you can accrue will ideally encompass a healing vaster than any of you can imagine individually. In seeking out this healing, it will happen in all of the bodies of your being. As a 3D physical being, this healing will also occur in your multi-dimensional spirit, which will be changed by the deep emotional transformations you are all required to experience now. After all, you are on the quest for knowledge, and to be able to know, you must become one with all of life. So you must turn on your compassion, your ability to feel, and recognize that imprints from your childhood are coming to the surface so that you can realize that many of you are still stuck in childlike behavior because you were never taught how to use your feelings and let go. You can only heal trauma by unconditional forgiveness, which includes unconditional love and includes unconditional trust. Let go of your need to be mothered and fathered. Yes, there is the Great Mother, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Goddess Gaia. And yes, there is Father Son. But let go of your need to be mothered and fathered. Be complete. You are complete. You are whole. That does not mean to give up being a mother or a father. Just give up the idea of someone having to take care of you. Embrace and embody the reality that you are a holy hologram, a divine spark, a sacred fractal of God-sciousness. You are the creatrix. You are the maker in a human body. You are divine sovereignty itself. Relax into your majesty and create with loving compassion. Lessons in life are vast, and the opportunity you have to learn is immense. Some call it karma. Perhaps in those terms you can understand that there are junctures and points of convergence when you can release yourself from your own past entrapments and entanglements, and that you can snip yourself free, and that as a creator you can only expect that you get back what you put out until you forgive. On the vast stages of existence, this is the act of the play that all have been awaiting to watch you perform. So what you write into these final pages in the Book of Earth is up to you. We have our popcorn and our beverages, and we are waiting and watching and cheering you on. We know that in these closing moments of the nanosecond, you will be meeting the demands of the 13th hour, the unknown, the mystery. Perhaps you have a few ideas of your own, and now you wish to rewrite chapters of your own histories. Perhaps you clever humans, took those pages out of the book yourselves so that we could not read them. We are learning so much by observing you and experiencing your book, and yet still you are an enigma to us. So coated you are with magnificent flights of fancy and freedom to change the roles that you have found yourself to be part of the plot. You are creatures of wonder and awesome power, and we cannot help but love you unconditionally. So, dear brother stars, know that your own panoramic and multidimensional perspective will grow. Whatever artistic creation you bring into form today and tomorrow will unfold like a geisha fan, and ideally, the wealth of the age will be all of yours to share. In the greater ideal, the test of the age will be met and matched and transcended. The vibration of love, a gift to all humanity, will be received graciously. Now, if you understand why you await certain special celestial events like eclipses and even full moons, perhaps you will understand why we await the event of your rising over the horizon. Our experience, knowledge, and existence have been vastly expanded by participating in your ability to live and experience. And we ask that you continue to do so with style, with dignity, with grace, and with purpose. The depths of unfathomable antiquities call you to turn them inside out and bring them to the light of day to make them fresh once again. Your abilities are barely known to you, yet they've been there all along, and your ancestors are willing to move forward from their ancient depths, knowing perhaps that they will live again through you. They do this with grace because the legends are full of the rumors and the stories of the healing and the coming of the love frequency produced by these humble humans of this celestial nanosecond. Yes, even your ancient creators will come forward for this event. The legendary lizards, the dragons, the reptilians, those who are the hidden part of the story, and not so hidden, to be honest, are on their way right now. They are taking steps. They are on a slow but surely determined trek. They have been sending their message, their smoke signals, their vibrations in the airwaves. We are coming. Their legends are full of this re-arrival, and they hear it is occurring now, and that the humans are finally producing the correct frequencies in spite of all of the tyranny and ominous toxicity in which they live. You are doing it! The word is out! And so the ancient prophesied march is on. Beings that come from places that you cannot even yet imagine. All are trekking to be here. All are journeying on their own pilgrimage or quest, because legends say that in the time of great healing, there has never been anything quite like what's happening right here on planet Earth. The time jumpers, of course, tell these tales, and as we have said, time jumping is an art, and you are only as good as your frequency and your daring to become what you jump into. And then all good time jumpers must know not to become too attached, and of course we have to extricate ourselves gracefully and find the location and vibration and indeed identity with which we must move along without necessarily getting stuck anywhere or without leaving any threads dangling and undone. But not all time jumpers are as good as all time jumpers are. And the myths are full of these stories too. However, now that you are writing the final pages in your book of this cosmic nanosecond, the ancestors are coming to you in all forms and capacities, through all dimensions, the first through the 13th, and through your own blood and marrow, through your vibrating DNA, and through the very air that you breathe, through the light energy of the plants and animals that you eat, and through the water, the lifeblood of Goddess Gaia. And so it is an important pledge for you to make, to keep your waters safe and sacred, and to understand that when your waters are poisonous, this is the ultimate signal that your activities to create this toxicity must stop. The way to live through this poisonous time is to produce the frequency of love. And it is your challenge to also use common sense and stop polluting. You will do this as you all begin to feel love for yourselves. And in conclusion, dear Brodhistars, please paint us a grand panorama of set decorations as you act out this last act of your play. Masterpieces of life and the purpose of play will now be yours as humankind illustrates and writes this chapter of the great Book of